John VanCamp, CEO of Southwest.
It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to follow Alice. I think that's what we're all doing here in this room. We're all following Alice. We find the leader, and we follow. It makes it easier when you get the right leader to follow. So let me tell you about what happened in July. All right, in July, I had a call from Alice. She said, you know, there's this conference in D.C., and I'd like you to come. Follow the leader. All right. So it was the most, you know, I've been to some conferences and okay, this looked good. I looked at the agenda, it looked good. It got there and it was lively, it was the right people, but I was blown away by one particular panel. And this conference, okay, was convened, if you will, by a combination of UNCA, which is United Neighborhood Coalition of America or something like that. It's like the settlement movement, you know, whatever, the Jane Hall movement, okay. But it was also convened by the White House. Tanya was there, and she was one of the featured speakers. But on this panel, there were assistant secretaries of HUD, HHS, Education, Treasury, and the White House. Oh, did I say Justice? Yes. Okay, yeah. So 5 different departments and the White House, assistant secretaries. All right, so I said, okay, and they're going to talk about neighborhood revitalization. And I said, okay, each of them will do a PowerPoint and they'll talk about what they're doing about neighborhood revitalization. No, they didn't do that. They all spoke from the same PowerPoint. In other words, HUD got up there and it was his turn and he showed where what HUD is doing, but he also talked about education and talked about justice. Okay, then the woman from education got up and she talked about it. So what they were modeling is, it says, it takes this integrated approach of education, of economic development, of justice, okay, of treasury. It takes an integrated approach to turn distressed neighborhoods into neighborhoods of opportunity. And they said it takes time. So throughout the whole room, their promised neighborhoods were there, choice neighborhoods were there, community school initiatives were there, and they were all drawn because they realized that it takes that integrated approach. Somebody kind of encapsulated and says, you know, there's really 3 pillars to neighborhood revitalization. One is a people strategy, early childhood education, okay, workforce development, health, mental health, counseling. It takes a people strategy. It also takes an economic development strategy. It takes housing, it takes commercial development, it takes real estate development, it takes entrepreneurship and small businesses. So it takes an economic strategy. And they said it takes a resident engagement strategy. It's got to be a strategy where the residents are owning the vision of where they want to go. We're following the residents, all right, as Alice talked about earlier. So it takes really, again, an economic strategy, a people strategy, and a resident engagement strategy for us to take our distressed neighborhoods and turn them into neighborhoods of opportunity. Well, you know, as Alice talked about in community mental health, been into it. It was 72, Alice. I'm not quite as old. Sorry, that was 72. There was a calling, okay, and the calling was about mental health and wellness of individuals, but it was also about the wellness of the community. So the community was as much your client, and you looked at that community as a lens, and you tried to see what did you and your partners need to do to revitalize that community. Over here it was that people strategy, over here it was the revitalization strategy. And we were starting a community mental health in Southwest Detroit. And it's different than if we started a community mental health, let's say, in Royal Oak. If we'd started a community mental health, we probably would not have gotten into housing. We probably wouldn't have set up a lending corporation, okay, or done a commercial development, because that was all there. We would have probably stayed much more on that individual. But when you're doing people work in a place of poverty, you've got to address economic strategies. You've got to address commercial and transportation, school, all of that. So I think that's our challenge. I love to be at this table because I'll share my talents, so I'm going to learn more than I share. So I'm just really pleased for Southwest to participate with so many others here as we turn our communities into communities of promise. Thanks very much.